Consistency builds momentum, and momentum is the quiet force that turns small beginnings into great transformations. When we talk about health, most people imagine massive changes, intense workouts, strict diets, or radical shifts in lifestyle. But the truth is, lasting health is rarely born out of sudden extremes. It is built slowly, steadily, and silently through consistency. Every small, repeated action you take plants a seed of progress. When you choose to show up daily, even when it's inconvenient, even when motivation fades, you're training your mind and body to stay committed to the process of growth. Think about a river carving through rock. It doesn't do it with power or speed, but through persistence. Day after day, drop by drop, it shapes the landscape until something magnificent is formed. The same principle applies to your habits. Every morning stretch, every glass of water, every healthy meal, every mindful pause, they all chip away at old patterns and carve a new path toward wellness. Consistency turns fleeting effort into enduring strength. It teaches your body rhythm and your mind patience. And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to see and feel the difference. When you act consistently, you build trust with yourself. Many people struggle with self-discipline not because they lack willpower, but because they've broken promises to themselves too many times. Each time you set a goal and abandon it, you lose confidence in your ability to follow through. But when you commit to doing something small and keep doing it, you rebuild that trust. You begin to believe again that your actions matter. That belief becomes the foundation for bigger goals. Consistency is not about perfection, it's about presence. It's about showing up, doing your best for that day, and letting progress unfold naturally. Another reason consistency is so powerful is that it compounds over time. Just like saving a small amount of money regularly leads to financial growth, small healthy actions multiply in value. 10 minutes of exercise daily may not seem like much, but over a year it adds up to more than 60 hours of movement. Drinking an extra glass of water every day improves hydration, energy, and skin health in ways you might not notice immediately, but will appreciate in the long run. The compounding effect of consistency is invisible at first, and that's why many people give up too early. They don't realize that the real results are building beneath the surface, waiting for time and patience to reveal them. Consistency also builds resilience. When you repeat healthy habits daily, you're not just strengthening your body, you're training your mind to stay steady through ups and downs. Life will always bring challenges, busy days, stress, fatigue, distractions. Consistency is what keeps you anchored through them all. It reminds you that health isn't about being perfect every day. It's about returning to your path, no matter how many times you stray. Each time you recommit, you strengthen your determination a little more. Over time, that resilience becomes part of who you are. A person who doesn't quit easily, who stays grounded in purpose even when motivation fades. Finally, consistency creates identity. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are. When you walk daily, you start seeing yourself as an active person. When you eat nourishing food regularly, You identify as someone who values health. These small, consistent behaviors reshape your self-image. And when your identity changes, your actions naturally follow. You no longer have to force discipline. It becomes effortless, a reflection of who you've become. The real power of consistency lies in that quiet transformation, the shift from trying to be healthy to simply living healthily. Through steady, deliberate repetition, you turn effort into instinct and habit into lifestyle. Micro habits create macro results, and it's often the smallest actions that lead to the most profound transformations in our health. We tend to think that big results require big efforts, hours at the gym, strict diets, or dramatic lifestyle changes. But lasting change doesn't usually happen through sudden extremes. It begins with small, simple, repeatable choices that may seem insignificant at first. These micro habits, when practiced daily, build momentum and shape who we become. They work quietly in the background, rewiring our behaviors, reshaping our mindset, and setting the foundation for sustainable growth. A 5-minute stretch, a glass of water before every meal, or a brief walk after dinner may appear minor, but they each contribute to a greater picture of well-being. Small habits matter because they are achievable. They don't rely on bursts of motivation or perfect conditions. Instead, they integrate smoothly into daily life. When a habit is small, it doesn't intimidate you. It invites you to begin. And once you begin, you start creating a pattern. That pattern, repeated over time, becomes a lifestyle. Imagine someone who decides to take the stairs instead of the elevator, or reduce sugar by 1 teaspoon a day. These actions won't transform their health overnight, but they will start a ripple effect. One good choice leads to another, and soon those little steps become part of a bigger journey toward transformation. The reason micro habits are so powerful is that they rely on consistency, not intensity. Anyone can push themselves for a few days, but sustaining that effort for months or years is what brings real change. By focusing on what's manageable, you remove the pressure of perfection and build confidence through small wins. Each small victory tells your brain that you are capable of change. That belief is crucial because transformation begins in the mind long before it appears in the body. Over time, these tiny victories accumulate into lasting progress, and that progress begins to feel natural, not forced. You start craving movement, preferring water, enjoying rest, and choosing health because it aligns with who you are becoming. There's also a scientific explanation behind the effectiveness of small habits. Our brains are wired to resist sudden change because it feels threatening. When we try to overhaul everything at once, we trigger resistance and often fall back into old patterns. But when change is gradual and approachable, the brain accepts it. It adapts, rewires, and reinforces the new behavior until it becomes automatic. For example, starting with 2 push-ups a day may seem almost too easy, but the simplicity is the secret. Once your brain accepts the routine, it becomes easier to increase the effort naturally. Before long, those 2 push-ups become 20, and a small beginning turns into a major achievement. Another reason micro habits are transformative is that they build identity and confidence. Every time you perform a healthy act, even something as simple as choosing fruit over a snack, you cast a vote for the kind of person you want to be. These small votes accumulate, and eventually they redefine your self-image. You begin to see yourself as someone who makes healthy choices, and that identity drives your future decisions. Change becomes part of who you are, not something you struggle to maintain. Over time, the effort fades and the behavior becomes natural. That's how small habits quietly lead to lasting transformation. The ripple effect of micro habits extends beyond physical health. When you build small routines of self-care, mindfulness, and gratitude, you begin to feel more grounded, more focused, and more positive. Your energy levels improve, your confidence grows, and your outlook shifts. These emotional and mental benefits further strengthen your commitment to healthy living. One habit supports another. Physical strength builds mental resilience, and mental clarity supports emotional balance. What began as a simple decision to improve your daily routine becomes a complete transformation of your well-being. The beauty of micro habits lies in their simplicity. They don't demand perfection or intensity, just small, consistent steps in the right direction, repeated every single day until change is no longer something you chase, but something you live. Habits rewire the mind in ways that go far beyond what we can see or feel in the moment. Every action we repeat strengthens certain neural pathways, shaping how we think, react, and make decisions. The brain is incredibly adaptable. It learns through repetition, and whatever we do consistently becomes easier to do again. This is why habits hold such immense power over our lives. They are not just patterns of behavior, they are blueprints for how our brains operate. When we choose positive habits, we're not only improving our physical health, but also restructuring our mental framework for focus, discipline, and emotional balance. Each repeated act, no matter how small, is like a message to the brain that says, "This matters. Do it again." Over time, these messages carve deep mental grooves, turning once deliberate efforts into automatic responses. At first, building new habits can feel uncomfortable because the brain resists change. It prefers the familiar, even if the familiar is unhealthy or unhelpful. That's why starting a new routine, waking up early, eating better, or meditating can feel like a mental battle. But with consistent repetition, the brain begins to adapt. It starts to recognize the new behavior as normal. The discomfort fades, and what once felt difficult begins to feel natural. This process is known as neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Through this remarkable ability, your daily habits literally reshape your brain structure and function. Each healthy habit strengthens the neural circuits that support focus, motivation, and self-control, while weakening those linked to procrastination, stress, and negativity. The mind loves patterns, and habits are simply patterns that serve a purpose. The more we practice a behavior, the stronger that mental pattern becomes. If we constantly choose unhealthy habits, like reaching for junk food when stressed or skipping rest to work longer hours, those pathways become dominant. But the good news is the brain can always change direction. It doesn't matter how long a negative habit has existed. With consistent positive action, you can rewire the pathways and build new defaults. The brain starts to expect healthy choices and rewards them with feelings of satisfaction and ease. That's why people who begin exercising regularly often find themselves craving that movement after a few weeks. The brain associates it with energy and reward, reinforcing the cycle of positive behavior. Rewiring the mind through habits also builds emotional strength. When we create routines that support mindfulness, gratitude, or relaxation, we train our brains to respond calmly to stress instead of reacting impulsively. For example, taking a few deep breaths every morning may seem insignificant, but it teaches the brain to slow down and regain control when faced with tension. Over time, this simple habit becomes a powerful tool for managing emotions. The same principle applies to habits of positive thinking or reflection. Each time you choose to focus on gratitude instead of complaint, you're strengthening the neural circuits of optimism and resilience. Eventually, positivity becomes your natural response, not something you have to force. Another powerful effect of mental rewiring through habits is the development of self-discipline. When you commit to doing something consistently, even when you don't feel like it, you train your brain to prioritize long-term reward over short-term comfort. This mental strength doesn't stay limited to one area, it spreads to every part of your life. The discipline you build from waking up early or maintaining a healthy diet spills over into your work, relationships, and personal goals. You become more focused, more intentional, and more capable of achieving what matters most to you. Over time, these small, consistent actions reshape not only the brain structure, but also your identity. You begin to see yourself differently as someone who follows through, someone who is capable of growth and consistency. And that shift in self-perception becomes one of the most powerful forms of transformation. The mind and body start to align with this new belief system. You act healthier because you think healthier. You choose better because your brain now recognizes what better feels like. Through steady repetition, habits stop being something you do and start being part of who you are. Every thought, every action, every small choice sends a signal to the brain, and over time, those signals create your reality. Physical health boosts mental strength because the mind and body are deeply connected, constantly influencing and supporting one another in ways that often go unnoticed. When you take care of your body, you are not just improving your physical condition, you are also nurturing your mental resilience, focus, and emotional stability. The human body and brain work as one system, and every healthy action you take, from eating nutritious foods to engaging in regular movement, sends positive signals that uplift mood, sharpen thinking, and reduce stress. When your body feels strong and balanced, your mind gains clarity and energy. It becomes easier to handle challenges, make good decisions, and maintain optimism even in difficult moments. Exercise, for example, is not just a physical activity, it's a mental therapy. Every time you move, your brain releases chemicals like endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, the very neurotransmitters that regulate mood, motivation, and happiness. These natural chemicals act as built-in antidepressants, helping you manage anxiety and stress. That's why a simple walk, a light jog, or a few minutes of stretching can completely shift your emotional state. When you make physical activity a habit, you are not just building muscle, you are building emotional balance and inner calm. Over time, your brain learns to associate movement with relief, clarity, and confidence. What begins as a physical act evolves into a mental refuge, a source of strength you can return to again and again. Nutrition plays a similar role in shaping mental strength. The brain is an organ that needs proper fuel to function effectively. When you eat whole, nutrient rich foods, you're feeding the brain what it needs to focus, learn, and regulate emotions. Vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, and proteins all influence how well your brain cells communicate. A poor diet, on the other hand, can cloud thinking, reduce energy, and make you more prone to mood swings. It's easy to underestimate the power of what we eat, but food has a direct effect on the mind. Choosing healthy meals consistently creates a stable internal environment, allowing you to think clearly, feel emotionally balanced, and handle life's pressure with strength and composure. Sleep is another pillar that connects physical health to mental well-being. When you rest properly, the brain processes information, repairs cells, and resets its emotional balance. A lack of sleep affects concentration, mood, and patience. It becomes harder to stay motivated or think positively when the mind is exhausted. Prioritizing good sleep is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to strengthen both physical and mental health. It restores your energy and equips you with the calm focus needed to face each day with clarity. Small changes, like maintaining a consistent bedtime or creating a peaceful night routine, can completely transform how you feel, think, and perform. Caring for physical health also builds self-esteem and confidence. When you take consistent steps to improve your fitness, your posture changes, your energy improves, and your self-image strengthens. This sense of accomplishment fuels mental toughness. You begin to realize that discipline in one area of life can inspire growth in others. For example, sticking to an exercise routine teaches perseverance, eating mindfully teaches self-control, and resting properly teaches self-respect. These lessons extend beyond physical health. They shape the way you face challenges, manage stress, and pursue your goals. The mind learns from the body that persistence leads to progress. Furthermore, maintaining physical health enhances emotional regulation. When your body is active and nourished, your stress hormones stay balanced. You are less reactive, more grounded, and better equipped to respond to life thoughtfully instead of impulsively. This emotional stability is a form of mental strength that protects you from burnout and negativity. You become calmer under pressure, more patient in relationships, and more capable of finding solutions instead of problems. The strength of your mind grows in direct proportion to how well you care for your body. Over time, the benefits of physical health ripple through every aspect of life. A strong body supports a strong mind, and a strong mind fuels a strong spirit. The two cannot be separated. Each step you take to improve your physical well-being, whether it's exercising, eating better, resting deeply, or managing stress, builds a foundation of resilience that empowers your mental state. You start to see challenges as opportunities, not obstacles. You develop a mindset that believes in growth, in healing, and in possibility. The harmony between the body and mind becomes your greatest source of power, giving you the stability and clarity to thrive in every area of your life. Environment shapes behavior more deeply than most people realize. The spaces we live in, the people we surround ourselves with, and the systems we create either support our growth or quietly pull us away from it. Often we rely too heavily on willpower to make healthy choices, forgetting that willpower is limited, but environment is constant. When you design your surroundings with intention, you make it easier to make the right choices without having to struggle or force discipline. The power of habit doesn't come only from motivation or mindset. It thrives in the conditions you create around yourself. If your environment supports your goals, success becomes almost automatic. Think about how small environmental cues influence your actions. When fruit is visible on the counter, you're more likely to eat it. When your workout clothes are ready the night before, you're more likely to exercise in the morning. When your workspace is clean and well lit, focus comes naturally. These small adjustments remove friction between intention and action. They create pathways of least resistance that guide you toward better behavior. On the other hand, environments filled with distractions, clutter, and unhealthy options constantly drain your self-control. You might start the day with strong motivation, but if your surroundings don't align with your goals, that motivation fades quickly. The environment you live in can either make change feel effortless or make it feel impossible. The people you spend time with also shape your habits more than you might think. Human behavior is contagious. If your circle values health, growth, and positivity, you are far more likely to reflect those same values. You absorb the energy, language, and mindset of those around you. When you see friends or family practicing good habits, walking, reading, eating well, speaking kindly, those actions become normalized. They stop feeling like effort and start feeling like a lifestyle. Conversely, spending too much time in environments where unhealthy routines are the norm can make it difficult to stay consistent. That's why surrounding yourself with people who inspire, uplift, and challenge you is one of the best forms of self-care. The company you keep is part of the environment that shapes your daily choices and long-term identity. Our digital environment plays a major role too. The information we consume, the content we follow, and the voices we listen to all influence our mindset. If you fill your social media feed with negativity or comparison, it drains your motivation and self-worth. But if you follow sources that promote growth, faith, health, and positivity, you fill your mind with energy that supports transformation. Just as like food nourishes the body, Digital content nourishes the mind. Being intentional about what you allow into your mental space can dramatically shift your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. What you see daily becomes what you think daily, and what you think daily becomes how you live. Another powerful part of environmental design is building structure and routine. When you organize your day around habits that align with your goals, you reduce decision fatigue. You don't have to think about what to do next. Your environment and schedule already guide you. For example, setting a designated time for exercise, preparing healthy meals in advance, or keeping a journal beside your bed creates an automatic rhythm. Over time, these small systems replace chaos with clarity. They help you stay grounded even when life gets busy or stressful. You don't rely on fleeting motivation because your environment quietly keeps you on track. The truth is, our surroundings constantly communicate with us. The lighting in a room can affect your mood. The smell of food can trigger cravings. The sound of clutter can create stress without you realizing it. Becoming aware of these subtle influences gives you the power to take control. You can design your environment to reflect the life you want instead of being shaped by default habits. It doesn't require perfection or money, just awareness and intention. Choosing calm over noise, order over clutter, and inspiration over distraction sets the tone for success. Ultimately, shaping your environment is about making the healthy choice the easy choice. It's about setting yourself up to win, not through pressure but through design. When your surroundings, routines, and relationships all point toward the person you want to become, change no longer feels like a struggle. It feels natural. Your environment becomes your silent coach, guiding you toward better actions every day. Over time, those small, supportive cues build consistency, confidence, and lasting transformation. The life you want doesn't begin with massive effort. It begins with shaping the space that shapes you. Small wins builds self-belief because every single victory, no matter how small it seems, sends a powerful message to the mind that you are capable of progress. Too often, people underestimate the value of small achievements because they seem insignificant in the moment. But these small victories are the foundation of transformation. They build the confidence and momentum needed to take on bigger challenges. Every time you follow through on a commitment, whether it's waking up early, drinking more water, or choosing a healthier meal, you reinforce trust in yourself. That trust is the seed of self-belief. It reminds you that change is possible, that you can depend on your own actions, and that consistency creates results even when they're not immediately visible. Self-belief doesn't appear overnight. It is built through evidence. When you set small goals and achieve them, you create that evidence. The brain starts to recognize a pattern. I said I would do this, and I did. That simple acknowledgement builds credibility within yourself. Each completed action, no matter how small, becomes proof of your strength and reliability. Over time, these small proofs add up and transform your inner dialogue. The self-doubt that once whispered, "You can't," begins to fade, replaced by a quiet, steady confidence that says, "You can." Big dreams and goals often feel overwhelming because they seem far from reach, but small wins break them down into achievable steps. Each step gives you momentum to keep moving forward even when motivation wavers. Momentum is powerful because it changes how you see yourself. Once you begin collecting small wins, your identity starts to shift. You stop identifying as someone who struggles to change and start seeing yourself as someone who takes action. This shift in self-image fuels further progress. You no longer rely on inspiration, you rely on proof. The proof that you have already succeeded, even in small ways. That mindset is what builds resilience. You learn to trust the process rather than seeking instant results. You become patient with your growth, knowing that each small win is a building block in the bigger picture of your transformation. Small wins also help to reduce fear and resistance. When a goal feels too big, it often triggers anxiety or procrastination. The mind looks at the distance between where you are and where you want to be and feels overwhelmed. But when you break that journey into small, doable steps, fear loses its power. Completing one small task gives you the courage to attempt the next. Confidence grows from action, not from waiting for the perfect moment. Taking small steps allows you to face challenges gradually, building mental strength with each success. With every small win, your comfort zone expands, and what once felt impossible becomes manageable. The emotional effect of small wins is equally significant. They provide a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that fuels motivation. Each time you celebrate progress, even a single step forward, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical of reward and pleasure. This reinforces the behavior and makes you want to repeat it. Over time, you begin to associate effort with positive emotion instead of stress or frustration. This emotional reward system is what keeps long-term goals alive. It transforms discipline from something forced into something fulfilling. You begin to look forward to progress rather than fearing the effort it requires. Small wins also strengthen perseverance. There will always be days when motivation fades, when progress feels slow, or when obstacles appear. But if you have a history of small victories behind you, you can draw strength from them. You can remind yourself of all the times you've succeeded before and use that evidence to keep going. It becomes harder to give up because your mind knows you are capable of overcoming challenges. That quiet, grounded belief is what separates those who quit from those who succeed. As you continue building small wins, you also develop gratitude and self-respect. You learn to appreciate effort instead of perfection. You begin to value progress over comparison. Each small achievement teaches you to celebrate yourself, not because you've reached the end, but because you're moving forward. That mindset shift changes everything. Instead of waiting for a big breakthrough to feel proud, you find pride in the process itself. You understand that greatness is not built in leaps, but in steps. Every day you keep your word to yourself. You strengthen your self-belief. And once that belief takes root, there's no limit to what you can transform. Because you no longer doubt the one thing that matters most, your own ability to grow.